Hey, gorgeous people. I hope you're having an awesome Friday or great start to your Friday. And jumping into like a fairly serious topic this morning, which is definitely, it can impact us at all at various stages of our life. And there's a multitude of reasons around why we might experience depressive type feelings or feel that we in fact have depression. And depression, I think these days can be one of those, I guess, bigger labels that can be placed upon us, and we start to become attached to the statement of I am depressed rather than I'm experiencing depressive feelings. And there is a pretty big difference like around that as well. Hey Christy, great to have you on, hun. And the reason why I want to touch on this is it's something that certainly impacted my life. It was quite a long time ago now, back in 2008, but it was something that impacted my life. And had I bought into the story around it, it would have continued to render me powerless to change my situation and to also have created the life that I've now created as well. Thank you so much for the love. Hey Jermaine, great to have you on too. It's awesome. And say hi if you're on, jumping on. It's just so beautiful to get so much love on a Friday morning. So it's one of those things that I think, depression, it can derail every area of life, or it can be impacting every single area of life as well. And truly, like, as a human, we all can end up in that feeling of suffering or feeling of depressive states or feeling flat. Hi Chris, great to have you on. And I love that, Jermaine. It's so good to see you on here. Wondering what time it is over there. It's 6 a.m. over here, so it's great to have you on. With depression, it really can be one of those things, I think, and of course, I'm going to make this quite general and a little bit, I guess, from my own experience. Certainly I'm not a medical doctor, but in saying that, I've helped like a multitude of people as well. Hey Michaela, great to have you on. 3 p.m. Awesome. Hey Harp, great to have you on. I have helped a multitude of people over the years who have been on antidepressants, or they've had, multitudes of challenges coming up and not knowing how to actually move through that. And I think when we buy into the story that the depression is the cause of how we're feeling and why we're feeling, then we tend to blame it all on the depression rather than what it is that we actually need to be doing that actually created the depression in the first place. And of course, it's awful when we're feeling that way, and often we feel powerless to be able to change our situation, and quite often that is the reason why we actually feel depressed. Feeling flat or feeling down is normally a state caused from a feeling of, something's not right in our life, something's not going well. However, longer feelings of feeling depressed for a long period of time, or feelings of powerlessness around that, which then can be determined as depression, really do stem from feeling like, I've got this thing going on in my life, but now I can never change it. And the thing that really, I guess, distresses me a lot is when people are told, well, depression is just something that you're going to have for life. And yes, I do understand in some medical cases that could be true, absolutely. And I'm certainly not here to diss the medical or Western medicine or anything else. If I cut my leg open, of course I'm going to go get stitches tomorrow. It's about following what is right for you and what you intuitively know for you. And hey Jerry, great to have you on. One of the reasons why I'm also mentioning this is that it could have been very easy for me to have gone down that path and been on antidepressants. When my marriage broke down, I was faced with being a single mum, only earning like $300 a week. My kids were 5 and 7. My mum was diagnosed with terminal cancer and passed away shortly afterwards. And I was like just in all sorts. I had very low self-esteem, very low confidence at the time. Hey Nick, great to have you on, gorgeous. And it was a very, very difficult time in my life. Now, yes, did I appear depressed? Absolutely. I had very low physical energy. I hated who I was. I didn't like my life. But there was a reason for all of that, and it was a lot to do with the thoughts that I was thinking and the beliefs that I actually believed to be true, plus the food that I was eating, so I wasn't fueling my body right. And of course that can impact things massively. 95% of your serotonin, which is your feel-good hormone, is created in your digestive tract. So if like we're eating sugary processed foods, you know, if we tend to feel like rubbish, we tend to eat rubbish, which only goes on and exacerbates the problem. You know, like if you're feeling tired and lethargic during the day, generally, you know, we're drinking some form of caffeine, whether it's coffee or whether it's Coke or, you know, Pepsi or any of those things. And it can really, really impact long term, simply because then it interrupts the sleep pattern, then we're still not getting sleep. And if you think about how a tired person looks and how a depressed person looks, it's actually pretty similar in the physiology. So, you know, when we get tired, we tend to slump over. We don't tend to hold ourselves as upright. And even that can make a significant difference to shifting our sternum 2 centimeters from here to here. Doesn't seem like much, but it changes our whole energy system, and it sends very, very clear messages, both biochemically as well as emotionally, to our system about, you know, where we're at. If we believe that we're depressed, you know, your body's going to be making certain chemicals around that as well. And if you're feeling great and you're feeling confident and feeling like you can, and celebrating the successes, no matter how big or how small. Hey Bernadette, hey Michelle, great to have you guys on. If you're celebrating those successes, you're actually going to be like pumping out your own little dopamine machine, which is another feel-good hormone, and it's the hormone for like getting rewards. So like I had a really flat day one day, and this might sound silly to say, but I think it's very helpful to recognize something like this. Hey Sandra, great to have you on, gorgeous. When I was just feeling I'd missed quite a few goals that I was going for, my self-belief was down, my self-trust was down, and I was just feeling really, really flat about where I was at and what I was doing, and I was starting to question all those things. And you guys might have been in a place like that, or you could be in a place like that now where you're really questioning, you know, what's wrong with me, or where am I at? And to be honest, they're shitty questions to ask. And the reason why they're shitty questions to ask ourselves is that they're always focused on the problems. You know, why is my life like this? Why can't I get my stuff together? And so then we look for all the reasons why we can't change our situation, why things are the way that they are. And we're focused very much on the past, as opposed to how could I change that, or how could it be better? And forward focused, what do I want to create instead? How might I go about that? And Einstein said, you know, we can never find a solution to the problem on the same level of thinking that created the problem in the first place. And I totally agree. Like, we need to shift our focus, we need to shift our thoughts. And that's where, when we're told, you know, that we're depressed, or we say to ourselves, I am depressed, we're literally programming our body to act depressed. And I know that might sound too frivolous to say that, or too kind of like, oh, you can't just say that. Of course there's other underlying factors that need to be addressed, but we're actually like literally programming the body to be that way. Hey Sandra, great to have you on. So this is a very, very important thing to remember when we're actually doing that self-talk as well. And the thing that I did that was just so simple and so silly was literally, I was drying the dishes on the day, and I did a fist pump, like just like yes, every time I got through one dish, because I knew that success breeds success. So the better that I felt in that moment, I did not feel like doing a fist pump when I first started. I didn't feel like doing the dishes. Hey Katie, great to have you on. But I did a small fist pump, like every single time. It was like, yes, another thing done, another thing done. And I started to look at celebrating my successes instead of beating myself up for what I thought that I hadn't done, or what I hadn't achieved, or what I hadn't created, and yada, yada, yada. So like knowing how to be able to shift the quality of questions that we ask ourselves, the identity that we attach to ourselves. So I am this, and a lot of us can have, and I had some super huge stories about my past and about who I was, and that I was fat and ugly, and that I was not lovable, and that I couldn't get things right, that everything was my responsibility and everything was my fault. Like, oh my God, if anyone thought those thoughts, they would feel depressed, they would not feel good. And I went on a huge journey back in 2008. Hey Simone, great to have you on. Hey Chris. I went on a huge journey back in 2008 to figure out what is the difference in the thinking. What needs to shift or change within me that can help me to start to change my circumstances. And of course, when we feel flat, when we feel tired, when we feel exhausted, it's very difficult to find the courage that we need to in order to ask ourselves the deeper questions. Generally, our emotional resilience is not as much, but even just small, simple steps forward really can make such a huge difference as well. And what I've really found from working with like over 1,600 clients is we all have certain patterns. Hey Jody, great to have you on, honey. We all have certain patterns in our own life of how the stories that we've told ourselves or how we're actually living our life. And one of the key things for me to actually understand was that there's 6 human needs. And when we're aware of what those 6 human needs are, a lot of our resourceful and unresourceful behaviors actually can be linked into trying to meet those 6 human needs. And it mightn't be in a great way, but the reason why, and you might have experienced this, if you're feeling in a bad mood and somebody tries to take you out of that, or somebody's trying to make you happy, and you kind of get pissed at that, like you get annoyed at that. And I've certainly been in that, and I was like, why is that? And when I understood the 6 human needs, it's because, oh my God, by me being in that emotional state, I was actually trying to meet one or more of those 6 human needs, but in a really poor quality way. But without knowing what those 6 human needs were, I didn't know a better way of actually trying to achieve that. And so this is how we can kind of sometimes become stuck in our emotions. And even though I'm very adverse at, well, not adverse, that's not the right word, very, I guess, attuned to being able to shift my emotions very quickly, there was a reason why I didn't want to always shift my emotions as well. And when you can understand that, that's kind of like that final link that really helps to set you free in moving forward, being able to change your emotions. The other thing that kept me stuck was I didn't know that I could change my emotions. I just felt that I believed whatever I believed and I felt whatever I felt, and I couldn't change that. I had no idea of the concept that I could actually change how I actually felt. I just was like, well, I just woke up and I felt this way. And because I'm so empathetic and tend to feel a lot of what other people around me feel, hey Lisa, great to have you on, hey Bev, then it kept me stuck as well, because I'd be feeling what everyone else is feeling, I'd be feeling what I was feeling, and I'd just feel completely overwhelmed and have no idea how to shift or change that. And it's been very exciting for me to be able to share that knowledge with my clients and with people that have done my courses, simply because I think it's a skill for life. And once we know how to shift and change our emotions quickly and why we're choosing to hold on to them when we don't want to change them, that's a powerful, powerful thing. Now, the other thing that can really impact feelings of depression is when we've had an incident in the past that we've either blamed ourselves for, or we felt like it was our fault, or it's been a situation that's happened that we haven't been able to change. And certainly the loss of a loved one can be that. There can be all sorts of other things, obviously, that have happened, and it's not to make anyone's experience trite or anything. I know, even from my own experience, it was incredibly difficult when I was going through that. Hey Anthony, great to have you on. It was incredibly difficult when I was going through some of those experiences, and yet if I'd bought into the story of this is just how it's got to be forever, then that keeps us depressed as well. And they do say, there's a saying around that depression is focusing too much on the past, and anxiety is focusing on too much what we're worried about in the future that hasn't even happened yet. So of course, we can feel out of control. Of course, we can feel powerless trying to change a situation that's happened in the past that we actually can't change. The only thing that we actually can change is how we actually choose to respond to that. And so that comes back to our own personal responsibility, which is really our ability to be able to respond to situations and circumstances. Hey Pauline, great to have you on, hun. Which is huge, and our perspective around that situation. And that was what totally changed the whole game for me, particularly around the passing of my mum, which I found incredibly difficult at that time in my life. But it was about finding or telling myself a different story. At first, when she passed away, which was, like I said, I had a lot of story around I'm all alone, nobody gets this, nobody understands. I was I was isolating myself, and that's what we tend to withdraw when we don't feel good internally, when we've got a lot of those negative thoughts. I wasn't taking great care of my physical body, so my relationships were suffering. I felt very inept in my financial status at the time. When I first became a single mum, I was only earning $300 a week, and it shattered me. It was just like, oh my God, how am I going to ever take care of my girls? Now, long-term suffering comes in when we believe that we won't ever be able to change our situation. And if I'd bought into that story and believed that, I'd still be there now. I know that for certain. But when I had the belief that maybe, just maybe, if I change the way that I'm thinking, if I change the way that I'm feeling about myself, and started to figure out, well, what are some of the clues, what are some of the ways that I can actually change my life, then it helped me to literally create a life that I absolutely love and adore. I've met an amazing man. My girls, one of my eldest daughter's turning 18, so obviously, it's a few years ago now, but she's turning 18 next week, and my youngest daughter's 16. I've created a 6-figure income, and I feel more confident than ever before in really helping people to step into that next version for themselves, or that next level for themselves, and to overcome this symptom that we're told. And I think what renders us even more powerless in those situations is having somebody in an authority figure, or somebody that is an authority figure in our life that we deeply trust, say, well, you're just going to have to deal with this and deal with it for the rest of your life, which in turn keeps us in that powerless state. You are far from powerless. There is so much that you can do, even from a natural perspective. And I'm a huge believer in naturopaths. I think just, hormonally, I know as a woman, that can certainly impact me. And I do tend to have a lot of anxiety just the day before or the day after my cycle, just as my hormones adjust. Sorry if that's too much information for you guys on here. But seriously, it's important things to be aware of, because I could buy into the story of, oh my God, I'm just such an anxious person, or I can go, oh, my hormones are adjusting. Yeah, I just feel a little bit scattered today, or I don't feel 100% of how I would normally feel. Okay, how can I be gentle with myself? How can I take better care of myself today? And just adjust. And I think when we have the ability to be agile in our responsibility in how we're actually responding to the situation, circumstances, or how even we physically feel within ourselves. And adrenal fatigue, adrenal exhaustion is one of the highest things that can trick people. And I saw another close family member actually go through this experience where they just felt so powerless, so exhausted physically within their body. They were wondering what was wrong with them, and it really scared them, and it made them really doubt themselves as well. And I've seen so many people, and I've experienced that within myself as well. Hey Tanya, great to have you on. So adrenal fatigue is huge, and if you haven't kind of heard of it, or you haven't researched it, and you do have lower type feelings where normally you're a go-getter, normally you're full of confidence, and perhaps you've had a couple of setbacks, perhaps you've had either long-term stress, or you've had a surgery and then a short-term stress. There can be all sorts of things that create this adrenal fatigue cycle. But it's only when we remain a victim to our situation that actually keeps going on then, and can really impact us long term. So addressing the adrenal fatigue, and two of the biggest things is making sure that you're eating regularly. If you are skipping brekkie, you're skipping lunch, you're not hungry, or you're just feeling like you're too busy to be focused on, that alone will really impact your adrenals, because it just puts so much pressure on our nervous system to provide fuel and adrenaline and cortisol in a situation where we're not fueling our body right. It's like driving an amazing sports car, but not putting the right fuel in it, or not putting any fuel in it at all. It's not going to get very far, and then blaming the car for not working. It's crazy. And yet we can do that so often by not taking really good care of our body. And honestly, it is hard to feel positive. It's hard to feel good. Hey Kelly, great to have you on, hun. It's hard to feel good if you are physically exhausted. And so that would be one of the first things that I'd certainly look at addressing. If you have been feeling flat for a long period of time, chances are you're just exhausted. Maybe the stresses of life have really got on top of you, and I can totally relate to that. I know being a single mum for such a long time and having that, I guess, feeling that sense of pressure of needing to provide and protect my children, and feeling like I was doing it all alone was a huge burden in some ways. It also helped me grow massively in other ways, which was the flip in perspective, and helped me to become really proud of the identity that I was creating of who I am, rather than feeling like a failure, which I had felt previously. But all of those things long term can really add up, and then it only takes, our immune system starting to break down a little bit more, and we get sick, or then we end up with needing surgery, or any one of those things that really can just knock our system massively. And that was what happened with one of my close family members, they were just shocked at how low they actually felt in their emotions, and they felt very, very scared, and had never actually felt like that before, where they just felt like they physically just couldn't get up and do anything. And it is a scary experience if you've ever had that, or had massive brain fog. I don't know whether you've experienced that before, but I've certainly have, where I came out and I couldn't think, and I was terrified, because I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to run my business? How am I going to do what I need to do for my kids? I'm the only one here. There's no backstop. So when we kind of back ourselves into a corner, we've got to ease ourselves out of it, not put too much pressure on ourselves. Hey, Lisa, great to have you on. Hey, Jan. Not put too much pressure on ourselves to change everything at once. It's coming back. The first area that I would certainly look at is your physical health and well-being. Try to get to bed earlier. If you've fallen into bad habits, which we can when we're in a high state of anxiety, or a high state of a heightened emotional state, staying up late, or ruminating, so thinking about things or overthinking about things, getting really stuck in our head, we've got to come back to just those basic physical things. Just get out and move your body. Like, even if it's 5 minutes a day, make sure you're drinking plenty of water. I love lemon water as well. It alkalizes the body, it helps the body. Do things that take care of your gut and your digestive health, by not overfeeding, like with sugary foods, with gluten, with dairy. All of those things cause inflammation in the body, will have you feeling lethargic and exhausted. Basically, it's like a lot of toxins running around in the body, like having a hangover. We don't call it that because, it's food. But, if there's things that you're eating that don't agree with you, or perhaps you haven't had that body awareness before, take some time to figure out, how do I eat? How do I feel after I eat that particular thing? Do I feel energized? Do I feel good? Do I feel light? Do I feel ready to go? Or do I feel like, oh my God, I can't move, I need to sleep? And cutting grains out, for me personally, I'm not a one diet fits everyone. It's all your own personal awareness. But at one point, like if I ate even a teaspoon of rice, I was so insulin sensitive that I would literally just could not physically keep my eyes open for 10 minutes, like 10 minutes after. So all of these things will definitely be impacting your feelings, and that feeling of powerlessness, or that feeling of confidence within yourself of, how can I keep moving forward? Hey Judith, great to have you on. Hey Susie. It's so gorgeous to see you here this morning, huh? So all of those things definitely make an impact over time. If you are a people pleaser, I can promise you, and being the martyr and the victim, that's a tough space to be in. I lived in it for a long time, and it's really about starting to love yourself in order to have the courage to let go of some of those relationships, or to stand up for yourself, or start to speak up for yourself. And it took me a long period of time. So be gentle and kind if that's where you're at as well with yourself. But the more self-love that you have, then the more willing that we are. Where I was so caught in external validation of like needing stuff from other people, or needing approval, needing love, needing respect, trying to get all of my external needs met, or all of my needs met externally, as opposed to actually getting them from myself, respecting myself, loving myself, taking great care of myself, appreciating myself, supporting myself, all of those things. I was trying to get it from other people, and that can make us feel powerless as well. That can make us feel out of control, because of course we're not in control of other people. We're not in control of their moods, their feelings, how they're interacting in their day. If they're in a great space, great. That's going to be a positive influence in your life. But if not, it's not going to be, and you're going to end up feeling up and down, and like a crazy person, maybe. It was certainly how I felt, because I was so keyed into what everybody else was doing and how everybody else was feeling, and I was taking it personally. I felt like, if somebody was in a bad mood, it was because of me. It was all my fault, going back to the story or the belief that I'd held for a long period of time. So, there's so much that you can do around this. I am actually running one of my favorite ever courses. It's my Authentic Happiness Intensive on the 9th and the 10th of February. I still have an early bird special for that. It's normally $9.97. It's down to $4.97 for a limited time. But honestly, guys, if this is stuff that you've struggled with for a long period of time, setting yourself free in this particular area is just one of the greatest gifts that you can ever give to yourself, but also give to the people that you love. And I strongly encourage it. It is an online program, but we actually run through it in person. So it's a lifetime access. You can go back, revisit the materials. You get an amazing handbook. Hey, Andrea, great to have you on. So you can do all of those things, which is, and have the skills, have the tools, have the strategies for being able to change your emotions swiftly and easily, to be able to be the master of your own emotions. It honestly transformed my entire life. And the things that I teach in that course is literally what I used to turn my life around from being a single mum, only earning $300 a week, feeling terrified, scared, angry, resentful, very depressed at the time, and being able to switch that into a life that I truly love. Like pretty much 95% of my life is exactly how I created it in my mind over 10 years ago. Yes, it has taken a little bit of time to get there, but it didn't happen all at once as well. I started moving forward, started doing a career that I absolutely love and adore, started helping people, and now, created a 6-figure income. I live in an amazing apartment. I drive a beautiful car, and all of those things are quite materialistic. The biggest thing is it's a reflection of how I feel about me these days, and how much I'm loving and appreciating and taking care of me. And that truly has been the biggest gift, because being able to give from a space where it feels really amazing and you feel like your bucket's overflowing and you just want to share and you want to give to other people from that space feels incredible. Where I used to give from was anger, resentment, obligated, feeling guilty if I didn't, feeling bad if I didn't, and it was so unresourceful. And I'm sure the people that I was giving to at the time probably felt it as well. Hey Dee, great to have you on here, gorgeous. So being able to consciously change our life, how we think and how we feel, but more importantly about ourselves. And happiness is not a one-time certificate, guys. It's not like there's a recipe for this one eternal happiness forever. But when you know the keys, you know how to switch that thing quickly, you can always come back to it. And what I found, it's having the deepest connection and self-love with yourself, which creates more of the permanent happiness, even though it mightn't be a one-time certificate, but you can really feel into that and experience that so much more in your life, rather than these fleeting moments of success and then feeling like, oh, I feel so empty, I feel unfulfilled, or drained inside. Why is this kind of happening to me? And it's never about the material success. Well, for me personally, it's not what drives me. Yes, but it's nice to have those wonderful things around us as well. So, becoming back to your personal relationships, and of course, having somebody that we love by our bedside, in those final moments, is what I'm certain that we'll all be looking for. I know that was what was most important to my mum, and I certainly know it's what's most important to me. And the relationship that you have with you will determine the quality of relationships that you have with everybody else around you as well. There's been no greater reflection for me personally than learning that and understanding that. Therefore, when you work on you, you get to invite in just these more amazing relationships. You get to raise the level of your current relationships, and live the life that you've always wanted to live as well. And I think truly there's no greater gift. If the Authentic Happiness Intensive, hey Anne, is something that really resonates with you, please PM me. It's important that it's a really, really good fit and that you really understand the process as well. I'll never just like plonk people in a course just to get numbers or anything else. It's really about understanding where you're currently at, what's going on for you, and if and how this might be a really great resolution for you, and give you the skills. The girls that went through it last year just honestly transformed so much over that weekend. It is an intensive. It's from 8 till 5 each day, and we will be doing very, very deep inner work that will bring up a lot of stuff. So it's not for the faint-hearted. It's not for surface level players or anything else. It's people that are looking for deep change, but not the magic bullet. The magic bullet just does not work. I've tried it so many times myself. It's not sustainable. It's not maintainable. I'll be giving you the skills and tools that you need for life in order to be able to master your emotions, release yourself from any negative belief that's going on for you, reset yourself, and then take the action that you need to in order to be able to create the life that you want as well. Hey Di, great to have you on, gorgeous. So like I said, if that resonates, send me a message. I would certainly love to hear from you, but I hope that everything else that I've spoken about today has been truly helpful for you. If you are having depressive thoughts, if it feels like the right thing for you to go see a doctor or go speak to somebody, please reach out. And if, just reaching out to a friend or reaching out and asking for support, asking for help, I think as humans we can tend to feel like, oh, I should have my shit together. I should know how to deal with this myself. Having that level of support to help guide us at a time in our life that, may be very, very difficult for you at the moment. I know it certainly was for me back then. I had lots of beautiful mentors and people that I reached out to that just gave me a completely different perspective and helped me to really change things around, to think in a different way, and to be able to then feel in a very, very different way about myself and about my life. Have an amazing Friday, guys. Lots of love to you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. So much gratitude for you all. And like I said, if there's anything I can help with, please reach out to me. And if the happiness, the authentic happiness course, I'm calling it the happiness intensive, authentic happiness intensive resonates with you, please send me a message. I've still got a couple of spots left. It's all day, fully catered for. You're fully taken care of. And I promise that, you will leave the room feeling very, very differently on Sunday afternoon than when you walked in there Saturday. Have an amazing day. Lots of love to you all. Bye.